with the FIA surprising teams last week by exposing aspects of what has been planned for F1's next rules revolution. The status of the draft rules sparked some concern in the Montreal paddock, especially now it has been revealed that one team has been tinkering with the rules, and it's none other than Mercedes, the team that has been linked to getting inside information and changing rules for over a decade. But could they really have that much influence on the FIA? Following an agreement that the car's performance in the 2026 regulations falls short of what F1 requires, with existing designs rendering them too quick on the straights and too sluggish in the corners, improvements are on the way. Indeed, the FIA's single-seater director, Nicolas Tombazis, informed the media and teams separately on Saturday that the draft rules will be revised. "We are not in the final set of regulations yet, and we do have quite a few things that we need to find and discuss with the teams," he stated. "We are equally conscious of some of the concerns regarding downforce with the cars or straight-line speed, and these are things that we class as refinements that still need to take place." The road to completing the revised rules is intriguing since it will take place within a governance framework that requires explicit team support. Until date, the FIA has had the authority to determine regulations on its own since the International Sporting Code states that rules do not need to be accepted by competitors within 18 months of their implementation. In fact, with a June 30th deadline to establish the 2026 rules, the FIA has conferred with teams on concepts and solicited opinion but has not sought their approval on what is outlined in the rulebook. That all changes on July 1st when the regulations fall within the authority of the Concord Agreement, necessitating the approval of the F1 Commission for any alterations made thereafter. It is a scenario that might possibly make changing certain things more time-consuming, as the procedure requires debates to go through the formal channels of the Technical Advisory Committee and be reported up to the F1 Commission. Most of the support will be sufficient to see through any changes. However, in the world of Formula One, nothing is assured. Therefore, there may be unanticipated barriers in implementing some changes. The likelihood of things being more hard to solve after July 1st spurred some recent speculation that the formulation of the 2026 regulations should be delayed until October, giving the FIA more time to get them in better condition. It also looked to make perfect sense because under existing regulations, teams are not permitted to begin aerodynamic work on the 2026 cars until January. So, in theory, an October publishing would be the same as one in June. However, those plans fell through after a team vote failed to garner the necessary unanimous approval. Mercedes refused to approve it, changing the entire path FIA was looking to go on. This means that Formula One is facing a critical few weeks to get an agreement on a restructuring of the proposed 2026 regulations, resulting in the current situation in Formula One. While some argue that F1 might have used the extra time to strengthen the 2026 regulations, it is thought that Mercedes' attitude was motivated by a desire to avoid kicking the can down the road. The danger was that if the draft rules were delayed until October, there would be no guarantee that the new standards would not demand the same level of improvement as the present ones. However, in October, there would only be a 2-month interval to resolve matters before teams began work in January, which may not have been enough time to finalise all that was required. So, by flushing out the draft regulations now, the aim is that the 6-month timeframe will allow things to be in much better form by the time the green flag is raised in January. This could mean that the regulations will be better on paper, and all the teams have more information, causing the field to be potentially close from the start. And, while the governance process that is about to begin to develop the 2026 regulations has the possibility of competitive self-interest taking over, Mercedes CEO Toto Wolff said in Montreal that he had no doubt the eventual outcome will be positive. The FIA and the teams agree that we need to optimize the regulations because the car's performance is just not good enough at this stage, he stated. "I'm sure we can achieve that." Could it be that Mercedes changed the rules for FIA for the greater good this time? Or did they just do it to prepare themselves better for 2026? What do you think? But as the deadline is getting closer, teams are rejecting the current proposals and launch their own revolt, as there is growing concern within the paddock that allowing FIA to go in their current direction of the 2026 rule set would only alienate supporters. It all has to do with the possibility of F1 losing its status as the pinnacle of motorsport due to these changes. According to one paddock insider, the 2026 plan seemed more like Formula 2.5 rather than F1 because to the reduced speeds. That is a concern raised by Williams boss James Vowles, who said, "It's imperative that we are still the leading series in motorsport." That's how I see us. We're the pinnacle of this. And therefore, as a result of that, we need to make sure that we're maintaining the performance and speed we have. Another factor that might influence fan opinion is the stringent chassis requirements, which might damage Formula One's DNA. The creation of smaller and lighter cars should be praised, yet tight rules may limit design choice. In the 2015 Motorsport Network Global Fans Survey, a stunning 86% opposed F1 becoming a standard series with similar cars and engines. Haas's Ayao Komatsu agrees, and believes the limits might harm the fundamental ethos of F1 teams as constructors. He added, "In terms of freedom of design, especially on the aerodynamic side, at the moment in the draft regulation, I'm not sure if that balance is hit right in terms of how things are prescribed." All those philosophies, how we present ourselves as the pinnacle of motorsport, in terms of engineering as well, to have some freedom or probably a bit more increased freedom in aerodynamics, that is important as well. So again, various aspects we need to look into to make it really represent the pinnacle of motorsport. And if that wasn't enough, the teams also had concerns about the car's performance and lack of downforce, with early simulations indicating that they may be slower in the corners than current F2 cars, hence the F2. 5 statements. McLaren team principal Andrea Stella stated concerning the draft restrictions in Canada, the cars are not fast enough in the corners and too fast on the straights. Speaking on the FIA's mixed reaction to the rules from teams and drivers, single-seater director Nicolas Tombazis said, "The World Council discussion and, hopefully, approval is the first step. We are not in the final set of regulations yet, and we do have quite a few things that we need to find and discuss with the teams. We are equally conscious of some of the concerns regarding downforce with the cars or straight-line speed, and these are things that we class as refinements that still need to take place." So between, let's say, the end of the month, when these regulations would hopefully be published, and the start of 2025 when teams can start aerodynamic development, because they cannot start earlier, we do expect a reasonable amount of extra work to be done in full consultation with the teams, with FOM and everybody else. Hopefully that will lead to some refinements that will be submitted to the World Council, maybe a bit later in the year, and hopefully approved. Tombazis acknowledged that the team's concerns about the car being so sluggish based on present standards were valid, but he stated that things will be significantly different when the 2026 cars will be released. "I think the fears are accurate because people are taking a snapshot of what the regulations are on a piece of paper now and are making comments on the basis of what they see," he said. "I don't have any concern about these issues raised by people, but clearly we have full expectation to make some steps up for performance. And that's exactly why we've set the bar reasonably low to start with, so we can build up on that with collaboration with the teams. To increase the downforce of these cars is actually quite easy. So I understand the comments, but I don't think there's any concern these cars will be not faster than F2 or anything like that. I think that will be 100% resolved when we are in the final regs. What do you think? Will these regulations coming at the end of the month become a true game changer? Will this enable the teams to come closer to each other in terms of performance? And which of these new regulations are you a fan of and which not? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.